Welcome to IBA West 2012 Political Summit.
Hi, I'm Steve Shea, principal of Barney & Barney in San Diego and current president of IBA West. Getting involved in grassroots advocacy is critical to your business livelihood as insurance agents and brokers in California. There's no question that the decisions made by your lawmakers are impacted by your ability to get your voice heard in Sacramento. But it is through the collective voice of IBA West and our hundreds of members in California that our voices can truly be heard by our legislators. For more than 100 years, IBA West has been the advocacy voice for the California insurance agent and broker, and this year is no different. But by combining video technology with in-district legislative meetings, it's easier than ever for you to have your advocacy voice heard. You're going to be taking a virtual journey through the political process, and you will be given the tools that you will need to effectively advocate. Again, I want to thank you for being a part of our virtual event today, and for being a critical component of our advocacy efforts in Sacramento.
Hi, this is Mike Orick, Vice President of Membership at IBA West. Thank you so much for joining us today for the 2012 Virtual Political Summit. We have California legislators that will be talking today about important topics and issues that affect your business. First up, we have Senator Juan Vargas. Senator Vargas represents Senate District 40, incorporating portions of San Diego, Riverside, and Imperial County. When he served in the Assembly, he chaired the Insurance Committee. Senator Vargas spent some time with us talking about the importance of independent agents being involved in political advocacy.
I think that independent insurance agents and brokers are a very critical junction right now. You see more and more that the federal government's getting involved in insurance, and here at the state, the distribution of health insurance is going to be decided, and it's being decided now. So it's very, very important for agents and brokers to be involved in this process. They have been excellently in the past, but unfortunately now you have more and more groups that are up here vying for our attention because they also have issues that are important. So you have to have that grassroots movement continue and even get bigger, because otherwise you're going to be left behind. One of the things that's interesting is that you have the best lobbyists up here. They're great, but there's no one more important than an agent from your district. I mean, when an agent or a broker from my district comes up here and wants to see me, I immediately make time, because there's nobody more important. Not only do they get me here, they vote for me. And so it's very important. Come on up. We want to see you. You're going to do yourself some good, and certainly the system some good. One of the strengths that independent agents and brokers have is really their numbers. And there's a lot of you. And you should be involved. Unfortunately, other groups, they're using their numbers and they're coming up here, and we have to listen to them because there's so many of them. And so if you don't come up here and do the same thing, you're going to have an issue, and the issue is going to be you're not going to be heard. You can't just say, well, somebody else is going to do my job, because that's not the case. What you see, what I see every day, are groups over here at the Capitol saying, listen to us, and you do, because there's so many of them. Well, you're a whole lot of people too. You ought to be up here. Insurance has always been regulated at the state level, and so, of course, it's most important, and has been most important, to be involved here at the state. However, more and more the federal government's getting involved, and you see this in healthcare, and you're going to see it in other things. So it's also very important to be involved at the national level. If you're not involved at the national level, you're missing out on the boat, because a lot of the actions go in there, as they say. A lot of the activities there, a lot of the decision making is going to be there, and so you have to be involved in both. The state's the most important, of course, and will continue to be, but the federal government is still very, very important, and only going to become more important as time goes on. One of the things that's interesting is that most of the people that get elected to office and come up here don't know anything about insurance. Literally, they don't know anything other than they have it or they don't. And so it is very important to have people up here that know something about insurance. And you probably have heard from them today, and you will, I know. But the reality is that most people don't. So you have to come up here and educate them exactly why insurance is so important, why the agents and the brokers are so important in the process, because otherwise they're going to say, well, we're going to computerize this. Why do we need agents and brokers? I mean, are we going to just commoditize this? Isn't it all the same? Well, it's not the same, and you got to come up here and tell us why, because most people don't know. I'm what they call a moderate Democrat, and so for me it's hard to get elected because so many of the Democrats are liberal. So I wouldn't have gotten here but for the help that I got from other people that are moderate. So I really thank those of you who contributed. I mean, you contribute to make sure that your voice is heard up here, not just the most extreme voices on the left. So again, thank you very much. But if you don't help, if you don't contribute to these PACs, I can assure you you're going to get people that you don't like.
Thank you, Senator Vargas. Next up, you'll hear from IBA West member Joe Hamilton talking about the importance of community involvement and community leadership.
Hi, I'm Joe Hamilton with Hal Rakowski Insurance in San Diego. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about community involvement and how that can help your business. We all know that being involved with many people helps us to make more contacts and network within our communities, and ultimately will help our bottom line. Some of the best agents that I've ever met were really involved in many different ways. Whether that was Rotary, church or civic groups, whether it's Elks Lodge, or even just being involved with the Boys Club. However it is to find yourself among many different people within your community will help you in many different ways. I've actually noticed and recognized many of the legislators that I've run into over the years at the same community events that I've been at. Time and time again, they've asked me to come to their office and talk about different things that are involved within our community. They want to know about insurance. They want to know what our perspective is. And all that comes from not only seeing me in their office, but also at community events. Don't forget to market to the people who are around you. Some examples of things that I've done. I've been very involved in a local Little League. I've helped it for many years at a church nearby where I see people in my community at all kinds of different events. I've helped with Invest at the junior college level, and I've been very involved in the San Diego IBA. These things have all helped me in my business. Don't be afraid to get involved in these events. Ultimately, they'll help our industry, they'll help your business, but more importantly, they'll help the community and the people in it.
Next up, you hear from Steve Young, IBA West General Counsel, who will talk about some of the challenges that we faced in the last legislative session.
Hi, my name is Steve Young. It's my privilege to serve as General Counsel of the Insurance Brokers and Agents of the West, and I've been asked in just a few minutes to summarize the accomplishments of the 2000 legislature, which is headquartered in the building right behind me. It may look pretty calm over there right now, especially from a great distance, but there is a hub of activity every single year. Last year alone, there were over 2,200 bills introduced. Of that, 563 were passed, 466 were signed by the governor, and in our new laws briefing booklet, which is available online and which we provide a continuing education credit class 4, we discussed 219 of those bills. In just a few moments here, I'm going to cover just a very small handful to give you a taste of what comes out of the legislature every year. And the first bill I wanted to mention to you is AB 1024, which deals with low-cost personal automobile insurance. As this bill was originally introduced, it would have authorized the California Automobile Assigned Risk Plan to establish a website that would permit insurance consumers to purchase insurance directly from the website without any broker agent involvement. We were opposed to AB 1024, not because we want to see low-cost automobile policies not sold, not receive a larger distribution, but because we were very concerned about the precedent of a state agency being authorized to sell directly to the public. As amended, AB 1024 simply requires CARP to permit consumers who are interested in that policy to find a broker agent who has been certified by CARP to sell those policies. The next bill we'd like to discuss concerns the business of insurance generally, and that bill was Senate Bill 631. Now, I'm happy to tell you this bill was not enacted, even though it was one of Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones's top priorities for his first session as commissioner. Senate Bill 631 would have given the Department of Insurance express authority to order draconian restitution amounts to any party that has been found guilty of violating the insurance code. And the way this bill was written, it would have applied to enforcement actions against agents and brokers, and it could have permitted the insurance commissioner to require either agents, brokers, or insurance companies who were found to violate even small inadvertent provisions in the code, not only all money damages that a plaintiff's attorney could argue a consumer had suffered, but even the cost of Department of Insurance attorneys to investigate the claim and Department of Insurance attorneys to further investigate in the future to ensure that licensees were no longer breaking the law or no longer engaged in the same behavior. Everyone in the insurance industry was opposed to Senate Bill 631, and it was held last year. But this remains a very important priority to the insurance commissioner, and one that we continue to fight in the legislature this year. There were many, many bills in the healthcare arena, and one that I want to talk about is AB 52, another bill which was not successful, which we were able to defeat, that would have permitted the Department of Insurance and the Department of Managed Healthcare to establish new prior approval rating laws comparable to what Prop 103 created in automobile and other liability insurance lines. Virtually everyone in the industry was opposed to AB 52 precisely because of our experience under Prop 103. We know that these prior approval rating laws do not produce lower insurance costs for consumers. What they do, though, is to add time, add tremendous expense, tremendous uncertainty to the rate approval process, all of which are costs that consumers ultimately have to pay. And these laws also create a funding mechanism for self-appointed consumer groups to get involved in the process and to delay things further. So for those reasons, we were successful in getting AB 52 opposed. And the last bill that we will mention involved workers' comp and involves the ability of the State Compensation Insurance Fund, the largest workers' comp insurer, to sell policies that include coverage in places other than California. This bill authorizes the state fund to enter into reinsurance agreements with primary carriers in other states, provided that the principal place of doing business is in California and that the majority of a business's employees and operations are in California, and that there is only, therefore, incidental exposure in other states. So that gives you a brief taste of what came out of the legislature last year. But it's so important for you to be involved in this process, because don't think for a second that you cannot and that you do not impact dramatically what happens across the street there. We have a great lobbyist in John Norwood. We have PAC funds that, while humble compared to what others raise, help us in this process. But the most important part of our advocacy is you. Your relationships with your local assemblymen and senators, and your willingness and ability to get involved and influence the process. So thank you. We would not be as effective as we are without you.
Next up, you'll hear from IBA West Legislative Advocate John Norwood of Norwood & Associates, speaking of the challenges we continue to face in the coming year.
Hello, my name is John Norwood. Norwood & Associates has been the IBA West legislative advocate for over 30 years. Before I talk about the upcoming issues in the 212 California legislature, I just first want to talk about the importance of you being involved in politics in this state. You know, the underlying theory about involvement in politics is that it is an investment in your business. When government gets involved in business, generally only a few things can happen, and they're always bad. It can cost you time, it can cost you money, it can make you uncompetitive, or all of the above. So, you know, our theory is to treat government as your unwanted business partner, to expend enough time, enough money to be involved in politics, that your voice is heard, and you can affect these issues and as a result, defend your industry. Now let me talk about some of the issues we expect in the 2012 legislative session. First off, the California Department of Insurance is sponsoring a bill that would empower the insurance commissioner to have the authority to order restitution in a departmental action against a producer. This is of concern to us. The department, of course, under Dave Jones, is now a pretty activist department. Last year they had 10 or 12 bills they were very successful on. The insurance commissioner, of course, is a former assemblyman, so he likes the legislative process and quite involved in this. This particular legislation is of concern to us because over the issues of due process. In almost every one of the situations that we've seen over 4 or 5 years where an agent or broker is accused of misappropriation of funds, there's usually a criminal proceedings, and in those criminal proceedings, restitution is always ordered. The Department of Insurance wants to essentially short-circuit that process and has the power to order restitution in those kinds of cases. The concern from our standpoint is, of course, that the insurance commissioner is judge, jury, prosecutor in these situations. So our concern for due process and what would be the effect not only on the producer but the agency or the brokerage that the producer works for. Another area of real concern is health insurance and employee benefits. Last year, as a part of the national health care reform, the legislature passed a health insurance exchange bill, and that exchange is up and running, essentially creating an exchange, a pool, essentially, of health insurance, PPOs, and HMOs that individuals and businesses will be able to go to buy health insurance. Our goal is to make sure that agents and brokers have a role in that exchange and will be compensated adequately, for their services. That we plan to make sure that the role of the agent and broker is specified, and that there is that we can use the health insurance exchange as another market, just like we do with the state compensation insurance fund for workers' compensation, and that agents and brokers will be adequately compensated. Another issue that we're very concerned about is the so-called service tax. As you know, currently there's a sales tax on products, but services provided by agents and brokers, lawyers, doctors, others are exempt from sales tax. Over the last few years, this idea of extending the sales tax to services has been gaining momentum. Already we've seen about 4 bills introduced in the legislature right now on service tax. As you all are probably painfully aware, California is careening towards being a service economy. There's a lot of manufacturing, other types of businesses, not growing in this state, but services are. And so this is a way for the legislature and the governor to raise additional funds. And of course, for the last 5 years, California has been facing multi-billion-dollar deficits. So, this is a way to address those deficits. We'll do everything we can to oppose the expansion or extension of sales tax to the service industry, particularly to insurance agents and brokers. Workers' compensation is always a hot button issue in Sacramento. As you are aware, in 2003, the legislature made significant progress in workers' compensation in reforming the system. Those reforms allowed premiums to go from an average of $6 per 100 in payroll to $2 per 100 in payroll. But of course, in the intervening time, people have figured out the reforms in the systems, and unfortunately today, average cost of medical and average cost of claims are $10 or $12,000 above what they did in 2003, yet premiums are still at relatively low point. Labor groups have not been satisfied with reforms. They want to increase PD benefits. They want to increase other benefits, and they now have a Democratic governor that's willing to address these issues. Now, interestingly enough, last year Governor Brown vetoed several individual adverse workers' compensation bills, and we applaud him for that. But the governor has indicated this year that he's willing to look at a package of workers' compensation bills. The devil's always in the details, and that'll be worked out through negotiations all session long. There'll be individual bills, but we think in the end there'll be one type of essentially a reform bill that that everybody can can concentrate on, and we're in hopes that that will be a positive thing for the marketplace. Lastly, there are a couple liability issues that affect the industry in general. Trial lawyers, of course, have never endorsed the idea that there are caps on punitive damages in medical malpractice claims. So it's rumored, there's a placeholder bill that's already been introduced in this legislature to increase the $250,000 cap on medical malpractice claims that is current law. In addition to that, the insurance industry won a significant victory last year in the California Supreme Court in the Howell case. That case essentially said that insurance companies were liable for the amount of medical claims paid as opposed to the amount of medical claims or costs billed. The trial lawyers basically want to calculate damages based on the higher number. The California Supreme Court said in a 6-1 decision it should be the lower number. President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg of the state Senate has now introduced a bill that would reverse that decision. So actually automobile insurance premiums would go up by at least $3 billion if that legislation was successful. So those are some of the key issues that are challenging the industry this year. Obviously other ones will develop. Something like 3,000 bills, close to 3,000 bills are introduced this session. Any of those bills can be amended any time on almost any subject. The average is amendments about 6 times for each bill. So we're always constantly monitoring those bills and trying to encourage legislators not to take on issues where we feel they're adverse to our industry in general or to the producer community. Thank you, and I thank you for your involvement in this program today, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, John. Occasionally, independent agents and brokers get into politics, and one of those agents and brokers is our very own Senator Ted Gaines. Senator Gaines represents Senate District 1, encompassing much of northeastern California, and his wife, Beth Gaines, currently serves in the state assembly. As former independent agent who made the leap to politics, he shared some insights about the transition.
I've been through college and I was working in my agency, and Prop 103 arose and basically challenged my ability to earn a living. We were very concerned about what would happen to being paid commission in order to sell an auto policy. And I think we are seeing actually a similar challenge today in terms of health care with these insurance exchanges. We've had to fight to make sure that we can represent clients and make sure that we get compensated for it. So as far as the political aspect and how I got engaged, I started out on the Planning Commission in the city of Roseville in 1999 and served there for a couple of years, and then had an opportunity for an open seat in the Board of Supervisors. I served in the Board of Supervisors for a full term, was reelected, and then a position opened in the State Assembly. And so I had the opportunity to serve there for 4 years, and had another opportunity then thereafter to serve now in the Senate. So it was truly just trying to make sure that I was active and engaged. I wanted to have an impact. I think it's so critical for independent agents to participate. You've got to help out candidates that are running. You've got to be willing to step up yourself and serve on a local planning commission or on a school board. I think it is that critical. It's important to be involved in our state party. I was fascinated to learn that we had 40 delegates at the state Republican convention participating, actively engaged. And that's the sort of process that we need to make sure that continues. And I would argue we've got to be much more vigilant in that effort in the future. As far as engagement of the independent agent in the political world, I would say, number one, there's a lot of similarity. You're dealing with clientele and with people on a regular basis. It's very similar in politics. You're dealing with people's problems. If someone has a claim and the claim's not being handled in the right way, you have to intervene and try to figure out how to resolve that issue. That's very similar to constituent services. And then in terms of trying to grow your agency, you've got to be on the phone, you've got to be in contact with people and asking them for your business. So that's very similar to fundraising in politics. So you have the right skill set, I would argue, to cross over from an insurance agency into politics. And then you've got to follow your passion in terms of where you want to engage. Typically it's easier to engage just at the local level. Get involved in some way, whether it's on a within a local political party, or whether it's something you want to do through the chamber, something you want to do through the city council, through the board of supervisors. There's a lot of boards and commissions to engage in, and you can look at running for offices. You've got to be involved. You've got to meet with your elected official on a regular basis. You've got to contribute to their campaigns. They need to know that if there's pressure coming their way, that you can impact a decision. So many elected officials are looking for a sense of what their constituency is thinking on a particular issue. If you're active and engaged and you've developed a relationship with your elected official, they can trust your judgment and they can provide input for you that they wouldn't see in any other fashion. I think there's a difference between a lobbyist coming and presenting an argument on a particular issue versus the individuals that are impacted by that law. So as independent agents, there's legislation that affects us. A legislator wants to see how that affects that individual that's on the street, that's living day to day on that impact as a result of a piece of legislation being passed.
Believe it or not, Ted Gaines is not the only California politician that was an independent agent and broker. We're going to hear from another one right now, Mr. Jeff Miller. Assemblyman Jeff Miller represents Assembly District 71, which includes parts of Orange, San Bernardino, and Riverside counties. And he offers some well-placed advice about meeting with your legislator.
I think it's important that you go in with an open mind, that you are there to try to educate the legislator about the particular issue that you're talking to him or her about. A lot of times we don't know the particular issue as well as you do. So we would be willing to ask questions and hear opposing sides to that particular issue. It's really important that you have a full understanding of the opposing side, because that member may just ask you point blank, what is your opposition going to say when I meet with them? And the most effective meetings that I've actually had is when you are able to tell me exactly what the opposing side is going to say, and in doing that, you actually can answer those objections and answer those questions directly to me in advance. And that's very, very helpful to me as a member, and it shows your own credibility on the issue that you're coming to me with. A good meeting for me, I can give you a very specific example. I have a constituent that owns a mortuary and crematorium, and this particular business owner in town wanted to expand his business. However, the current state law didn't allow him to do that. So when I met with him, he had done all the research, he had looked up all the codes, he had brought forth the exact process and procedure that he was wanting to do to expand his business, and was able to give me lots of facts and figures and documentation on specifically what he was looking to do. And then it made it very easy for me to understand that particular issue, because I'm obviously not a professional in that particular industry. And then I was able to give that to my staff and give them an opportunity to go actually get the work done and formulate a bill that we were able to construct out of that meeting. Even if you're meeting with a member that you know that doesn't agree with you, you never know where that conversation might go. There may be a particular aspect of that issue that you haven't thought of, and as you're sitting down talking through it with him or her, you may actually find some common points of interest. Try not to go in and just attack, the member on a particular issue and just kind of jump on him or her and just put them in a defensive mode. That will not play very well for you. What you need to do is try and in a larger concept, want to try and build that relationship with that member that you're meeting with. So when you do meet with them, it's a more friendly atmosphere too. What I've found over the years is that the political field and the issues surrounding the business community that impact the business community are issues that I've been able to use as an agent in improving my relationship with my customers. You're actually bringing to that your customer issues that could be as serious as shutting them down. That if legislation actually moves forward and passes, it could close their business or impact their business in a seriously negative financial way. So there's some serious value to getting involved in the political process, getting to know the issues, and I would encourage you to step up and do that. Not only protect your business and your income, but to be able to help you build your relationship with your own customers.
We'd like to thank all of our California legislators that helped us today with this event. We know their time is valuable. Thanks again. We're going to wrap up today with Aaron Norwood of Norwood & Associates, who's going to share with you some basic advice on how you conduct yourself in a meeting with your local legislator.
Hi, I'm Erin Norwood, Legislative Advocate for IBA West. I'm here today to talk to you a little bit about preparing for, conducting, and attending a meeting with your legislator. The first thing you want to do is identify your member. There's a website that you can go and enter your zip code and you can find out who your senator and assembly member is. Once you have identified your legislator, call their district office to make an appointment. The appointments you're generally going to get in the district are a Thursday afternoon or a Friday. Let them know that you're an insurance agent or broker from their district, a constituent, and that you would like to come in and meet with the assembly member or senator on general insurance issues of interest to IBA West. When attending the appointment, make sure you dress appropriately. Make sure you look professional. Thank the member for taking the time to meet with you. They are very busy and their time is valuable. Introduce yourself. Give them a brief description of who you are, what you do, and who you work for. Transition into your topics for 2012. Express your concerns respectfully. Keep an even tone to your voice. Offer to be a resource to the member on key insurance issues. Let them know you are a phone call away when they have questions on how an issue would affect insurance agents and brokers. Never mention political fundraisers or campaign contributions at your meeting. Be sure when you're done to thank the member for their time. Leave behind a card or folder with contact information and the key issues for 2012 as identified by IBA West. For your follow-up, make sure to send the member a thank you note on your letterhead. Offer to organize a business advisory group to meet regularly with the member to discuss business and key insurance issues. If you like, invite your legislators to visit your company before opening or to attend a short meeting with your agency or a group of local insurance agents. Brainstorm other ways to continue to foster your new or existing relationship with your member. Creating consistent points of contact will help ensure you are first in their mind to call when an insurance issue comes up. I hope you had a productive meeting with your legislators. If you have any questions, please contact IBA West. And thank you again for attending today's virtual political summit.
Thanks again for being part of today's event. Advocacy is just one of the many things that we do for California insurance agents and brokers and our members. If you want more information about IBA West and our services, please visit us at www.ibawest.com.